Welcome to Build Your Maverick Business, the podcast for underdog, outlier, and renegade entrepreneurs. Brought to you by Strange Creative Studio. If you dream of going off on your own and launching your rebel empire, but don't know where to start, you're in the right place. We'll teach you how to use mindset, branding, and practical advice to build a killer business and transform your world. And now, here's your host, founder of Strange, Alex Pitt.
Hello everyone, how's it going? I hope you are enjoying the sunshine. My God, to quote ELO, Mr. Blue Sky, where the fuck have you been? That might not actually be the lyrics, but close enough. It's been a long old winter, and while it is still freezing cold, it's putting me in a lovely mood to see that sunshine back out. Apologies if you live somewhere in the world where it's not sunny, but again, I'm very British and this is what I like to talk about. So this week, I've just actually had a conversation with a lovely peer of mine who I actually got on the phone with and said, I need a bit of a pep talk today. She is also a founder and she's a very successful founder. I look up to her in many ways. And I said to her that I was doing the podcast today, that it was going live tomorrow, and I still hadn't quite decided what it was going to be about. And she was like, what the fuck, Alex, how do you do that? That would put me on edge so badly. And I was like, no, this is probably the one part of the business that I am quite chill about, because I do have to remind myself sometimes that there's a fair few of you that listen to this. To me, it kind of feels like I'm just keeping some sort of like voice diary where I just pile my thoughts into a microphone and then someone edits them. Joe edits them nicely for me and makes it all into a very cohesive bit of advice for you all. So don't get me wrong, I'm not just going to make shit up as I go along today. I was inspired while I was having this conversation with my lovely friend who put me in such a better mood than I was in before this conversation started. And a few things came out of our chat, and I realised that I knew exactly what I wanted to talk to you about today. And it's really come off the back of what has been, I think, quite a difficult start to the year for us and for everyone. Like, I don't know anyone who's running a business at the moment who is like, yeah, man, we're thriving. I think, in all honesty, the world is kind of on fire and we're all just like, what the fuck is happening? So people are less willing to spend their money on things. People are a little bit more cautious. Things have been delayed, etc., etc. And it's really got me thinking about the biggest challenges that I faced over the last few years, and things that I talk to about other people as well, things that we all agree are the biggest pitfalls of running your own thing. Now, I tell everyone that they should start a business. I think that everyone should give it a go at some point, even if it's just a little side hustle, selling your designs on Etsy or just doing something small. I think that freedom and the passion and everything that makes it great is so worth the stuff that makes it difficult. I'm not going to say it makes it bad, but it makes it really challenging. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is I've pulled up what I think are the 3 biggest challenges when it comes to starting a business. And all I want to do, partly for myself as much as for you all, this is like self-therapy going on right here, but I just want to take those biggest pitfalls, biggest challenges, and just reframe them, right? Flip them on their heads so that even the shit stuff doesn't seem so shit. That's what I'm going to do with you today. And because it's been a bit of a difficult start to the year, where better to start than with money? Now, I know I've promised you all that I'm going to do some kind of money mindset episode at some point, and I'm still going to do that, but I think that it's a really important one. So I want to get it right. I want to actually put some planning into it, which, as you all know, it's not really in my nature. So I will come back to that at a later date. But no, money when it comes to running a business, right? That is essentially bread and butter. If you're starting a business, you want to be bringing the money in. And a lot of the time, note, most of the time when you're first starting out, money is unpredictable, right? Money is unpredictable. You do not know necessarily where it's going to come from. You don't know what's going to cause it to dry up. You go through what we call this feast and famine cycle, where you'll have 1 month where you're like, oh my God, this is insane. I can't believe that this is my job. And you're just rolling in it. And other months where it's just tumbleweed and you're thinking, what the hell? How am I going to pay my rent? Right? It is unpredictable and it is a roller coaster. Now, how I want to flip that out is that, yes, it's unpredictable, but you are in control of your own income. Okay? Now, I do think back sometimes to the days where I used to work full time with a little bit of like, oh, grass is greener, nostalgia. Wasn't it lovely to just know that on a certain date at the end of every month, a certain amount of money was just going to drop into my account and I could have Pret for breakfast, you know? That consistency and that comfort in knowing that that money was coming, it was nice in a lot of ways. It was also, I don't know, a kind of sedative, right? You just get told that if you go to this office 9 till 6, 5 days a week, and sit your bum in the same chair and earn money for somebody else, then you will be given this comfort blanket of a certain amount of income, which will pay your rent. It'll probably buy you a few pints. It's not really necessarily going to help you achieve your dreams, right? You have your bum in your seat to help somebody else achieve theirs. And I mean, even the pandemic taught us that even that safety net of working full time, it's not completely guaranteed, right? People who had worked in industries that we thought were never going to be damaged, that were never going to need to lay people off, suddenly crumbled. People who had worked in jobs for decades and decades and thought that they'd be there until they retired suddenly found themselves having to retrain. Nothing is really guaranteed. Everything is unpredictable. So if you are going to embrace the unpredictability, then why not be in control of your own income and decide how much you want to earn? Embrace the fucking fear of not knowing when that next paycheck is coming, but know that it can build to be something greater than you ever imagined. Okay? So consider that one spun. Money is unpredictable, but you are in control. You are in control of what you earn. Now, number 2, it can get lonely being a founder. It really, really can. I can vouch for this 100%. And not even just in the sense of like the day-to-day of not having people around you. If you work from home, like you can always get yourself a co-working space. You can go and work in a cafe. You can surround yourself with people. But the thing that's really, really difficult is not having a support network around you of people that you can hand things off to. Right, until you get to that point where you can build a team and start to delegate, you are going to have to take the reins and do a lot of stuff on your own. And that is really, really quite scary, but it's also really isolating. You can talk to your friends, you can talk to your family, but unless you are speaking to people who have been through it or are currently going through it, it's not always as comforting as you'd like it to be. Now, how we're going to flip that one is that you get to decide who you share your time with. Right now, when I was speaking to my lovely friend earlier and I was telling her about my plans for this podcast, we ended up being on the phone for well over an hour. We were talking about, things, projects that we wanted to work on together. We were talking about business stuff and we were kind of putting the world to rights. And I was working in the background. I was doing some retouching for a client. I had Photoshop on and I had my phone on my stand and we were having this lovely chat. And it was fucking wonderful. Now, again, I want to think back to all of the days where I worked full time, where you do not get to make a decision on the people that you are surrounded with for the vast majority of your waking life. Now, I don't know if you know what misophonia is. I'm going to actually have to look that up in a minute and make sure I've said that right. I think it's misophonia. But it's something that I learned I suffer from really badly. And it's basically when you get, I want to rip your fucking limbs off angry at people for making noise when they chew or sniffing or stuff like that. Oh my fucking God. Like, Steve, blow your fucking nose. I will end you. See what I mean? I'm quite irritable when this sort of thing comes up. Little things like that, Having to work with colleagues who try to steal your ideas, having to deal with a boss who's just an absolute knobhead, having to sit in meetings with people who you think, I have never met a more moronic group of people in my life. Like, these aren't necessarily things that I've suffered with, but friends of mine that work full time have exactly these problems, right? You spend so much of your time sat around people who you have not decided, you have not signed up for being around. Now, when you work on your own, you, yes, are going to have to struggle a little bit at first to build up networks, to decide who you're going to work with, to take people on. But you get to decide all of those things. You are in control of who you're going to spend your time with. You choose the people that you hire. You decide which clients you're going to take on. You decide which partners you're going to work with. If you have a product-based business, you decide which suppliers, which factory, which manufacturers, which designers. You are in control of all of that. You're not just being thrown in to a cubicle to fend for yourself. Right, I'll admit that's a little bit of a silly one, but I stand by it. Now, finally, there is no rule book, and it's hard to know what path to take. Okay, you can study business in school, you can read every single book under the sun, but as far as I'm aware, I don't have children of my own. Like I've said this in the past, I don't have children of my own, but the way that I think about running a business is very similar to what I hear other parents say. When they say that, you can read every parenting book under the sun, you can take advice from every person, but only you know what your kid needs, right? If they're screaming, crying, you know that they need one of those little Ella Puff things, right? You're the only person that knows. And that is really, really difficult because sometimes you can just get yourself into a brain fog of, oh my God, I would go in any direction at full speed if I just knew which path to take. There isn't necessarily a set of steps that you need to follow to reach that success. Now, to flip this one, my final one, in the words of Fleetwood Mac, you can go your own way, right? No, there isn't a set path for you to take, but you can go wherever you fucking want to. You don't have to follow the rules in books that you've read. You don't have to follow the system that you've been advertised on Instagram. You don't have to do it the way that you see other founders are doing it. This is your baby. This is your business, and you are in control. Now, I talk all the time about being a maverick founder, and this is really essentially what I mean by that. It's not just pissing people off and swearing all the time, unless that's what you want to do, in which case I actively encourage it. No, it's just deciding that you know what change you want to make in the world. You know what you want to put out there to leave this fucking earth in a better state than you left it. Whether it's just making people happy, whether it's affecting change, whatever you want to do, you get to decide how that's going to come about. And you get to decide what you're going to do to get yourself there. So while there isn't a rule book, as a Maverick founder myself, I'm going to say that that's a fucking good thing. All right, my darlings, look, little bit of inspiration for you today, but just know that as much shit as there is in this whole founding a business, running a business, malarkey, there is so much good to be had too. Just got to flip it sometimes. All right, you lot, I'm going to go for a walk in the sunshine. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I will catch you here next time.
Got an idea for a maverick business of your own? Learn how to build a powerful brand that will get people obsessed with our online program, not just a pretty logo. You'll learn a simple step-by-step framework that will kickstart your killer brand and help you find your raving fan base. Find out more today at strangecreativestudio.com.